called upon to learn in a very different world. Um, a world that is so, what you would call, up and down. There's no stability. There's so much uncertainty. What do you teach children? How do you teach them? When information is now free and able, you can get anything, any question answered on AI. Can you imagine that? What I would have done with history and geography if I was in school with that? Could you imagine? I tell you, I don't think they need teachers anymore. So we're changing, and I really want to talk about the role of the parent in the changing, not the role of the teacher. Maybe at another time we can look at the role of the teacher. But I want to talk about the role of the parent, and how do we parent our children in this kind of time, So to do that, I want to go back just a little bit to my time, which is many, many moons ago. And when education really was about giving you a successful life. That's how I was brought up. There are several ways to get to success in life, and one way was education. And that's the way my parents brought me up. And they brought all of us up that way. And so how would we define that? Well, it was defined in job security, job status. They always say, when you get a good job and your job is secure and so on, a successful life was, there's a process for it. You go to school, you study more, you go to university, you get qualifications, you get degrees, you come back, or wherever you are, you get married, you make some children, you live through that, and then you go into old age like myself. So that is what the journey was. That is the journey proposed to us as we were growing up as children. And that is what a successful life was meant to be. And we fell for it. It was important for us. And to go with that now, to make sure that happened, we had to learn things like delayed gratification and so on, because you couldn't be successful if you're just thinking of getting everything right now. So you had to learn to wait on things. You had to learn to take your time. You come home, you had to learn do your studies and so on, spend time on homework and so on. All of that was part of the journey. And then you had your moral issues that guided you. So I grew up with moral issues. I grew up with a hell, a heaven. I grew up with something called mortal sin and venial sin, and those things scare the living daylights out of you. You don't want to go to hell. You don't want to be caught dead in any kind of a grievous sin. And I grew up with that, and you want to go to heaven. That was the environment in which I was brought up. So there were always what you call restrictions, or there were boundaries which you never crossed. And those things have to shape and form you in a particular way. You were told, nobody followed it, of course. You were told sex before marriage was frowned upon. It was not agreed to, and so on. And you had big values such as honesty and fairness and integrity. Those were values I grew up with. If you're home, if you come from school and you have somebody pencil, you have to carry the pencil back. Your parents tell you, that is not yours. Don't take anything that doesn't belong to you. Those are the kinds of values that I was brought up with. And many people were brought up with those kinds of values. A lot of honesty as well. Integrity, fairness, treat people fairly and so on. We had to as children, my mother would bake bread and sweet bread on a Saturday, and we had to go and carry bread and sweet bread into the poorhouse. We called it poorhouse those days. That was the St. James Infirmary, and we had to take it there and talk to the people living there and share things with them and so on. We were taught how to give. We were taught how to be of service to others. It wasn't a selfish thing about everything is for you. That's what we were taught. And those things helped to form us, to form our being and how we were growing up and so on. Community, extended family was important. Grandmother, grandfather, Auntie Mary, Auntie Mavis, Auntie Margaret, all these kinds of aunties were important to us. And the aunties took an interest in us, one way or the other. Uncle this and uncle that. And of course, all the little shame in the family, you don't know, well, this is a kind of a half uncle and a half brother and a half sister. All that kind of thing was there, but was never really pronounced in a sense. It's only when you got older you started to figure out what all these little hidings and these shadows were all about. Part of the growing up was physical punishment, and that was the method used to correct dysfunctional behavior. It was used at home, it was used in school, and some of us grew up fearful of that. You don't want your father to come and beat you, because when he beats you, you don't want your mother to beat you because she's beating you with anything, broomstick, pan, pot, anything. So that was the way it was. It's called abuse these days, so we don't get into that. We also had a way of how people made you work hard, and it was called shaming. When you're in school, the teacher would shame you into working harder. It never worked. It was a horrible thing. It actually created a lot of confusion and unhappiness for a lot of children. But they thought that if they shamed you, if they put you up on the blackboard and you didn't get it right and they beat you on your buttocks and so on, or they call you out in front of the class and they tell you dunce and stupid and ignorant and so on, and they call you these words and these names, that they thought it would motivate you into doing well. It did the opposite, actually. So we produced a lot of criminals and people who fell out of the system because we were harsh. We didn't know what we were doing. Teachers didn't know what they were doing at that time. But they were actually thinking that they were motivating people to do well. So that is what it was like. And today is different. Today we have unbridled consumerism, which means that there's no delayed gratification. You take what you want, you eat it quickly, you don't wait. Christmas is a time you got toys, you got gifts, now you have to get it now. If you go into a store and your mother say, I'll give it to you a little later, no, you make a scene, you ball, you get on until you get what you want. And I always say on this program, I'm amazed at the grocery when I go and I see children eating things off the aisle. They take it up, they eat it, and the parent is presenting the wrapper to the cashier. And that is what you're cashing. I mean, come on, your child can wait 10 minutes, can wait 15 minutes. Come on, So we have reached a stage in our development in which we seem to owe our children. We're begging them for love, or we're afraid of them. I don't know which one. And that has created an anxiety in our children, a lack of patience in anything, so that we ourselves now become very anxious people because we're constantly pleasing our children, constantly, which makes a difference. It makes a difference into how you can get things done. Children don't do anything on their own anymore. They have to get a lot of what I would call money and finance, and it must be done now and so on. So we live in that. We also live in an explosion of psychological theory, so that we have YouTube, we have the internet, we have everything. So everybody's a psychologist. Everybody knows why this child is behaving this way. Everybody knows that. And there are thousands of theories that come out every day that could explain human behavior, could explain the naughty behavior of children and so on. So we're living in that, but nobody's ever correct. Yeah, everybody has the theory, nobody has the practice, and that's the difference. That's what is happening these days. So we have all this talk. We talk it through now. I talked to him and I talked to her and I had a conversation with her and so on. But you will not put your foot down and say, I don't agree with this. I don't like this. This is not good for you and I will not tolerate it. No parent says that anymore. They will say, well, I'll have a discussion with him and I'll try to see how this is going to work out and so on. We have to be careful how, we don't want our children to really think this and think that. And foolishness, absolute foolishness. So we've changed the whole concept of change. So studying has changed, and we have now presented 2 or 3 models before our children that they are literally living up to. And I want to talk about these 2 or 3 models. The first model is the model of hard work, long nights, sacrifice, and that will bring you success. So some parents present that model to their children. So, and they do it themselves. They model it because that's how they behave. They go to work, they work hard, they come back, they take time, they save, they delay. In other words, nothing is given right now. Everything is say, well, okay, we'll do this next month, or we have to buy a new fridge. Let's save up and we'll get it at the end of the year. We're not going to go and rush and take it now because we see it advertised and we have to get it now and so on. So we model delayed gratification. We model hard work. We model sacrifice. We model long nights of working. We also model playtime and fun and laughter and enjoyment. And so when we model that, we say this is what brings us success. That is one model that some children grew up with. Then there's a model that other children grew up with, and I call it the cheating model, the shortcut model, the fast money model, the skullduggery model. In other words, you do all these things and yet and you are successful. So what you're teaching your children is that when you do all these shortcutting and the cheating and all of these things, then and you are successful because you are successful. You can do those things and be successful. So when you do those things and you're successful, that's what you're teaching your children. So everybody learns, don't waste your time studying hard and so on. Take the shortest cut you can. So if you have to pass an exam, cheat. If you have to do something, cheat. We teach them that. And we are comfortable in teaching them that, you know. So when we do those things, that's what they learn, that's what they grow. It's no reason why we have such a difficulty with crime today, because it is understood in your mind. It is okay to do that. Do you see how we drive? You see how we drive on the road? We cheat at every area that we can to get in front of the other person, you know. No, we're not going in line at all. We're not taking our time. We have to rush around and dart in and so on. That's what we teach our children when they're sitting in the car. That's what they're learning. How to get ahead without taking your time. That's what they learn. That's our model. That's what we're doing with them, you know. And so many of us have profited on that model. I know one person who had to get license for his children. They were 15 and 18 or whatever the case might be. And he says, hold on. And he went and he paid somebody and he paid a little $3,000 and boop, first child got the license, boop, another $3,000, next child get the license. When you do that for your children without having them do the process, due process, go take lessons, learn how to drive, fail if you want to fail the first time, pass the second time. When you short circuit the process, what are you teaching? And that's a model. That's a model. And then we have the other model, I call it a don't care model, which some parents have, which means that the system owes you a living. The system owes you a living. And that's the model. So that it's never your fault. It's never your responsibility. The responsibility is always on other people to make you happy and to bring you success. And that's an unkind model. That model came up with some of the programs that we've had in the system, in the country. And so some people feel, and some children grow up, and they honestly think that you owe me a living. And if I don't get it, I will take it. So, and they take it. They take it through crime and what you call it these days, housebreaking. They don't call it that anymore. They call it all kinds of things. So that you take it. And because I am owed that is, you have to give this to me. And those 3 models, that's what we're living with now. That's how we are bringing up our children. And as a parent, you have to decide You have to decide what exactly, which model you wish to present to your children. That's what I'm saying. And it's not a mixture of one or two. It is the way you actually live your life, because that's what model is. You live your life in a particular way, because what children see is not so much what they hear on the internet, but what they see you doing. That's where the modeling comes, you know. And it happens in the little ways, in the ways that you behave, in the ways that you bank, in the ways that you talk about people, in the way all these things show you, in the way that you purchase something. When you want to buy something and you say, boy, I know a fella down the road, boy, he have the cheap, I could get them 4 tires for about $800. And you're saying that in front of your children, knowing fully well that the person who is selling the tires have stolen those tires. And you're buying stolen goods from people. And you're doing that in front of your children. That's the model of cheating. And that's exactly what we're teaching. That's how we're doing it. Even some teachers do that kind of modeling in the system, with exams and so on. This, no worry too much, I will give you in advance the questions and so on, so that you could come first, you could get an A grade and so on. All kinds of things we do which present a cheating model. What do you expect? So even when someone is successful, you become a successful doctor, you become a successful teacher, you become a successful electrician, you're cheating. You cheat the people that you're supposed to serve. So you know that if you do this house and you do the electrical work for this house, and the electrical work is going to cost 8,000, you tell them 15,000. Yeah, cheating. You're cheating. And because you were brought up that way. So we don't trust anybody anymore. We don't trust the pharmacists, You go, they're selling you products that they know not helpful. They know that, they know this is not good. They purchase it from second-rate, second-hand, bad people who are doing all kinds of low-class things with the drugs. And they're getting you buying it. That's cheating. That's destroying people. And they're becoming successful out of that kind of a model. So crime will not done in that sense unless we change the way we parent our children, unless we change the way we model to our children. And the model is important. So what is this modeling all about? Well, the first thing is prioritizing our values and living out of these values. What each parent has to ask himself, what are the values I live out of? Not the values I talk about. Forget the talking about part. What are the values I live out of? Do I live out of working hard as a value? Do I live out of that? Do I live out of a value of education? Boy, you have to do your work. You need to sit down. You need to spend time in your work, reading and writing. You need to plan your work properly. Do I model that? Do I model honesty with my children? What are the models that you present and are presenting to your children that would allow them to attain success without getting into the other models of owe me and cheat me kind of models? The second way of moving forward is managing the technology. The technology is here. And sometimes I say, oh my God, what next? What next will they bring out on us? And believe you me, there's always a what next. There's always something. It's all designed to make life easier. It's all designed to make things smoother, shorter sometimes, and that's wonderful. I enjoy some of the technology myself. The question is, how do you, as a parent, think through the managing of this technology with your children? So screen time needs to be controlled. Um, you can't have children with 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds spending all their time on iPads and all these kinds of little movie things and so on. um, Over time you can't do that. Children need to run out and play a little bit. They need the physical movement and contact with themselves and so on. And then the nighttime is for sleeping and resting and so on for a lot. So you need to manage it. And with teenagers, same thing. I know some parents say, after 8 o'clock, there's a bowl on the table. All phones go into the bowl. All phones after 8 o'clock. So that there's no temptation with spending hours 9, 10, 11 o'clock with your friends, and you're on TikTok and you're on this talk and all kinds of stories. So we don't have that kind of control in Trinidad. So the one parent does that. So that helps. That is helpful. And you manage it as children get older. You release and you relax the boundaries and so on. So that's all part of it. And the final point I want to raise is about what I call deep listening. We have to learn how to listen deeply to our children and what they're saying to us and what they're not saying to us. Because it's only because we are new at this game, they're in a different world to us. Our world wasn't that way. So we have to kind of really listen to what they're actually telling us, their hurts, their pain, their frustrations, their joys, their sorrows. We have to listen, reflect it back to them, and work with them on that. Because we don't have the time to do that, we delegate that time now to screens, so that we're busy making the money. Sometimes there's a single parent, sometimes there's two parents, sometimes all kinds of confusion. One person working late, traffic is long, in the 2 hours on the road, they come home tired and so on. All that is understandable, but it doesn't mean we have to give up. We have to find ways in which we can connect and deeply connect with our children so that we can save them in the way that they need to be saved. I'll stop at this point.
All right. So, people, you can get in on the show, give us a call. And we really would like to hear from you this morning. You can call us at 281-1315. That's 281-1315. You can regular call us. You can WhatsApp call us as we are chatting with Steve Williams, courtesy of the Foundation for Human Development. Steve, I consider myself to be living in a very interesting time. For me personally, as one individual, I have seen some advancements that the world has made over a particular time frame, and I have lived through some of those advancements. I don't know if at any point in time in the history of the world, advancements have taken place in such a quick succession.
No other time.
No other time. I mean,
No other time.
I had the opportunity to play cassettes, play records,
Yes.
to play CDs, to be now on the computer. I know what it is to go by a phone booth with my bag of 25 cents.
Yes.
To rotary phone in the house, to BlackBerry phone, to Android phone, to iPhone.
Yes.
I have seen Technicolor TV.
But, black and white, that's right.
As a child, I'm from black and white. We remember that. I see Technicolor where you put this pink thing in front of it.
Yep.
And just to see where it has reached today. So we are living in some very interesting times, and I think the advancement is moving very quickly. But oh my God, Junior, I lost you. Call me back. Sorry, I just missed you. Yeah. So what I really wanted to see, and with all of that, I am watching changes taking place around me also, where a lot of these things are concerned. But even if I'm here in my phone and I'm not seeing the call coming up, I'm talking, looking for it. So people, please call me back. Right. Yeah. So I live in an area here, Steve, where in my neighborhood, and Junior, I want to give me just a few seconds just to make this point. Um, when I moved in here, probably about 18 years ago,
Mhm.
I remember what a weekend on a Sunday used to look like. The children outside
Mm.
playing,
Yes,
in
scooter.
there, riding bicycles and
Yes.
playing in the parks and swings. And it has come to a point now where that has all gone. I don't even see children in our
Yes.
community running around the place riding the bicycles
You,
anymore.
you didn't
You
know
know,
that, children.
I don't see them in the play park. I don't see the boys coming out in the afternoon to play football in the field.
Mhm.
And all those are changes that are taking place. So I don't know where we are going, but I am just observing all of these things taking
Yeah.
place. But I have the caller here. So,
Yes,
Junior, good
that's
morning. Thanks for holding on.
Thank you, Sir Charles. Pleasant good morning and pleasant good morning to Mr. Steve.
morning.
Mr. Steve, these days you come out swinging where you come out swinging and I like the angles that you're taking and it's so relatable to now. you know,
Yeah.
even as let me touch with the screen time and the gaming.
Yes.
Right? Now everybody, Mr. Steve, I mean, we focus on the children with the screen time, but even us as adults, we indisciplined too,
Yes, we are.
because we
Yeah.
spend it have people spend most of their time on the different apps. It have some people, as a matter of fact, that
Mhm.
society has become, the phone or the screen time even becoming your companion.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
More than your companion. Yes.
more than a companion. Have you ever out? Have you ever go out and see how people are socialized now?
Mhm.
If
Yes, I
not
do.
almost everybody on their phone in their own world.
That's correct.
But everybody is out to out socialize
Mhm.
and while technology, Mr. Steve and Mr. and Sir Charles has its plus, I am telling you, we're going to end up with a generation depressed because even I mean now the new thing is for a like, right? The new thing is for a like, and when you do get a like, right? Or
Yes.
people disagree with your views. You know,
Mhm.
one of the things. So just yesterday, me and my son is 7 year old, and we was having a discussion. He said, "Daddy, I want a tab." I say, "You
Yeah.
want a tab?" I say, "Well, I'm not going to buy a tab for you," but he said, "But daddy, in school, almost everybody
Mhm.
has a tab and they are playing games. And when I had to play games, I had to ask for a game." And I had to
Mhm.
say to my son, well, not because everybody has a tab means that you have to get one. I mean, if you need to do something, there are laptops home, right?
Mhm.
And I don't think at this age, right, I wanted to, and as I say, um, in terms of screen time, we limit them so like school during the week, right? He don't get no TV,
Mhm.
right? He don't get no TV. No, on TV already, right? He gets TV over the weekend, all right? We allow you a certain time where you
Very
can,
good.
you have access to TV because
Very
now,
good.
now, in terms of people health, right, and children health, right? They
Mhm.
on this thing, they children younger now, it forces them to have to go and wear glasses, right?
Yep.
Because even in giving them the screen time, they're not doing the proper thing by putting on the blue screen, right?
Right.
And then too, when you examine these children, and when you take away that screen time from them, all hell break loose,
Yep.
all hell break loose. I mean, recently at some point in time, we had a case where a young man would have chopped his mother because she would have taken away the cell phone from him, right?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
and I'm such as Mr. Steve, even. these systems, the people on them is like the new, it come like the new drug. Because
Mhm.
I telling you, sometimes I struggle out to intentionally say to me and put on my phone and be away
Mhm.
from my phone because so now I want to touch briefly, right? So Charles, if there anybody come in, let me know so I could get them a blind,
No
right?
problem.
Mr. Steve, you talk about so the society and you
Mhm.
talk about the system where you talk about the honesty and you talk about the mother love, and
Mhm.
you hit the nail on the head because society is the way society because too many of us in society living double standard life and as they
Very
say
well said.
your children and is something that I does be me and my wife does be having a conversation and I just tell her right and I just even tell myself you come like some of them come like the father who would go and tell the child, hey, light that cigarette for me there and will beat the
Mhm.
child on the for smoking. Don't go and smoke the cigarette, But the child will
Yes.
see the example out of you smoking the cigarette,
Mhm.
right? And as you rightfully say, and in different, and I like how you use it different analogy because you use the analogy of the people on them in the drugstore. No, the drugs is not good, but
Yes.
again, because of greed, because of
Yes.
selfishness, right?
Mhm.
They would sell the at time I walk in a drugstore and I would have asked for something. And I find the cashier and the person who's supposed to sing the drug, I find them on shushy and so that's Mr. Charles and Mr. Steve. I walk and leave that to them
Mhm.
they
Yeah.
come across too suspicious to me. I walk and leave that. And in
Yes.
different parts of society, Mr. Stevens, such as they get me on the head, right? That's why society the way it is. And people, honesty, Mr. Steve,
Mhm.
honesty, honesty look like is something that is rare in the
Mhm.
time that we are living in. To be
Mhm.
honest, I see people look, I see a man yesterday, he's driving on the shoulder at the highway just to get and I think, but you and he driving hard on the shoulder, not I say, but it is a police on the shoulder, so he care if he monks up a police.
Yeah.
But is to where we reached it there. I mean,
Mhm.
sometimes you have to say, oh, wow. So I'll leave it there for now, but good one, Mr. Steve. Good program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks very much, Junior.
Mhm.
You see, that is a perfect example. As I said, that's how we see things changing and the world that we're in.
Yes.
Now, can we fight those changes that are happening around us? Um, as he drew is the analogy of his child there, right?
Yeah.
And a very interesting one at that too,
Mhm.
because now you are in school, and if all the children in their break time and playtime, the play is on the tablet, what is your
Yes.
child going to do? There's nobody running and playing pitch in the yard anymore.
That's right.
Nobody's playing
And
football and other running games and all those kinds. So, what is your child supposed to do when
the
everybody is
fault
engaged?
there, the fault is that of the school, the education system, and the teacher. Because you should never have your children in your class, all of them playing games on a screen when it's break time.
Well, and that is it too. And because with some schools now, they're glad that the school quiet and all this thing.
Yes, because nobody in busting, nobody and falling down and giving no
Yeah,
trouble.
yeah,
But we
yeah.
need to bust a head or two. We need to
Yeah,
fall
but
down.
that is it. You're not actively involved in other things. So you have to encourage them, and that is the thing. If the school is not encouraging them to get involved, come outside, take some
Mhm.
fresh air, take a little walk around, get some vitamin D, and exercise, and go
That's
back into the class.
that's right.
I think but
But you
it's a
see,
hard act to balance.
that's where we have to begin the discussion when people talk about education. It's not so much about changing the curriculum, or changing the exams. It's about the interaction between teacher and student and the atmosphere that is created in the classroom to allow for learning. And what atmosphere are we developing and encouraging. That's where the discussion has to go. Forget curriculum. It will always change. It will always change. I mean, AI, they need a curriculum anymore. You know.
Social media, no social behavior.
We have to spend a lot of time on that. If we can't resolve, and I don't want to get into anything political here, we can't resolve the issues through suppression. 20 policemen, 40 policemen, 100 people who have gun, we have gun. Those things, we're talking about children here who need to look inside and change their behaviors from inside. You hold me down.
Yeah, just gonna briefly, Steve there. So he's gonna trip back in a short. In the meantime, of course, this is On the Inside with Steve Williams. And I think the internet just tripped Steve out for a little bit. And I don't know.
He's working at home as a parent. He's working all the boundaries, the regulations, trying to build his child. And he's fighting the competition in the school because the teacher is allowing all these children not to go out and play or not to talk with each other or talk over lunch, but to sit down, or everybody sit down with a little machine in front of them playing games.
That is the norm. That is the norm.
Yes. Look at the fact. And so guess what happens? You have the parent who doesn't have to buy that kind, because you have different levels of kind.
Oh yeah. Oh yes.
Your parent can't afford that, so guess what? You have to get somebody to give it to you. You have to skulldug your way into it. Your parent has to go and buy it second hand, third hand, below the bridge, under somewhere. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Somebody's selling it. They get it for a little $10 so they could give it to the child. I don't want my child left out. My child must not be left out. And rightfully so. But at the same time, it's the system that needs to be looking.
Steve, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
Good conversation. We kept you over a little bit today, but that's cool.
Yeah, that's
nothing is wrong with that. I'm happy that we did actually.
Yeah. That's fine.
All right, so tell people how to get in contact with you and the folks at the foundation.
So the foundation has its physical space in Cascade, 36 Cascade Road, Cascade. And we are online. We have, you can reach us email, which is foundationhd@gmail.com. And you can get us WhatsApp 4826500.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And looking forward to talking with you, God's willing, next week, Wednesday.
Next week, yeah.
All right, people, this has been On the Inside with Steve Williams right here on the Era TT Radio. NETT
Bringing such grief and sadness into my household. In the end, they're still my daughters and sons. I will always be there for you. No matter what you do, whatever joy or pain that you are going through.